People are leaving California, New York, and Florida, and I ended up here in North Carolina. But why? Let me break down the top 10 reasons everyone's moving to North Carolina, and a few might surprise you. If you're new here, my name is George Aguilar, and I am a local realtor in Raleigh, and I help families relocating from out of state figure out where to live and where not to live. To give you my background, I moved to North Carolina from San Diego, California back in 2015. However, I moved a couple of times before settling in Raleigh. I went from living in North Carolina to moving to Connecticut, from Connecticut to Charlotte, from Charlotte to Singapore, from Singapore back to Raleigh. And not only that, within the Raleigh area, I also moved a couple of times. I went from living in Falls of News, which is North Raleigh, to Roseville, to Briar Creek, to Fuquay Varina, to Wilson, and then to Wendell. All to say, I moved a couple of times and understand not only what it's like to live in other states, but where to live within Raleigh. So let's break down the top 10 reasons everyone's moving to North Carolina. Let's jump in. So number one, affordable housing. The median home price in Raleigh right now is $439,000. If you compare that to California, New York, or even the DC area, this is still pretty affordable. But don't get me wrong, a lot of people come to Raleigh with the idea that it's very cheap, that you can get a huge house for very little money, and that is no longer true. That was true in 2015, but after 2015 and 2020 with COVID, Raleigh has appreciated and home values have gone up in some specific markets. But the median price is $439,000. So there's still a lot of affordable houses out there. But again, it's not what it used to be. Now, by having this affordability, not only does it come down to the housing side, but it also goes into living costs and living expenses. You know, in North Carolina, specifically in Raleigh, you have the opportunity to buy a home instead of rent. I know in these other states, buying a home is no longer affordable. So the only option that people have is renting. So here in North Carolina, you have the option to buy at very affordable, still at affordable prices. The other thing is that you have more disposable income because not a huge portion of your income is going towards housing. You also now have money to travel. You have money to do whatever you want with it. It's no longer just reserved to paying rent or paying your home. And then the last thing is because you have more disposable income, people have less financial stress. Reason number two is airport accessibility. So one of the great things about living in Raleigh is that the RDU airport is fairly accessible. I've lived in California, and if you have ever traveled from LAX, it is a journey itself to get to the airport. You have to leave in so many hours in advance. Even when you get to the airport, no matter at what time, you're stuck in traffic, 30 to 45 minutes to get into the airport. Here in Raleigh, we do not have that. You can get to the airport fairly quickly. Anywhere around the RTP area, it's very accessible. If you're coming from the east side, it takes 30 minutes, but even then, there's hardly any traffic going into the airport. Also, you have a lot of nonstop flights to major U.S. cities. For example, this year, they just added a direct flight to San Diego, California, where my family is from. Before, I had to stop in Houston or Dallas, and now I have a direct flight straight to California. Now, that is like coast to coast, and that's like 6-hour flight, but now no longer having to stop is such an advantage, especially for people relocating from out of state where travel is very important. Just know that Raleigh has an airport that is fairly accessible and it has nonstop flights to a lot of major cities. So that's a plus. The other thing is you also have growing international routes. Right now you have direct flights to Canada, Mexico, London, Iceland, France, and Frankfurt. And it's only going to continue to grow as Raleigh continues to grow. So not only is it very easy and accessible to get to the airport, there's hardly any traffic, hardly any long lines when you go to the airport. Very easy to get in and out, but you now have international flights and nonstop flights to major U.S. cities. All right, reason number three, strong job market. The Research Triangle Park, most commonly known as the RTP, is a job engine for the area. You have 300 plus companies, including tech, biotech, pharma, and engineering firms. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are moving here, because with the growth that Raleigh is having, there's a lot of companies that are moving into the area. And there's also a lot of job opportunities and a lot of high paying jobs, which again, not only allows you to not have financial stress, but it allows you to live a very comfortable life, a very good life, and a lot of job opportunities where you don't have to search or move out of the state to find a job opportunity within your industry. Okay, so now moving on to reason number 4. Reason number 4 is 4 seasons without extreme. So in Raleigh, you have spring, summer, fall, and winter, but each one of these seasons is mild. So let's talk about the winters. Now, the winters can get a little bit cold, but if you're coming from New York, from the New England area, nothing compares to that. Raleigh gets snow, and if we get snow, it's for only a couple of weeks, maybe even at most 3 days, and then it melts by the fourth day. Everything shuts down if it snows, even if it's just a couple of inches. And the winter doesn't tend to be as cold as New England, but we occasionally we do get in the teens, which tends to be pretty cold. So you'll need a jacket, you'll need a winter jacket, gloves, a beanie, a scarf. But again, it's mild compared to up north. Now, summers are warm and humid, but again, manageable. And spring and fall are the seasons people enjoy the most. This is when the weather is in 70, 75 degrees, and it's very enjoyable to walk out. You have, the springtime, you have a lot of daylight. It gets dark really late. We're talking about even in the summer, it's dark, past 8 p.m. So very enjoyable time is spring and fall. All right, let's move on to reason number 5. And this is outdoor lifestyle. While the Raleigh itself has limited options as far as entertainment goes, the state of North Carolina has a lot to offer, especially if you love and enjoy the outdoor lifestyle. If you drive 2 to 3 hours east, you will hit the beach, and there are many, many options for beachgoers. You have the Outer Banks, which are beautiful, and then you have Wilmington area, which is 2 to 3 hours away. So a weekend getaway, going to the beach is something that we all do here in the summer, and it's fantastic. You'll love it. And then if you go 3 to 4 hours the other way, so going west, this is where you can go to the mountains. So talk about Boone, talk about Asheville, a lot of winter activities, snowboarding, skiing, tubing, hiking. So a lot of those activities, Grandfather Mountain, a lot of things to do. So if you love nature and being outdoor, Raleigh is a great place to live because it offers both the mountains and the beach. And then also 4 hours north of us is DC. And then might be 5 hours south of us is you can go to Charleston. So again, a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of things to do. Now let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is family-friendly suburbs. I'm married with a 5 and a 2-year-old, and I can tell you that one of the most enjoyable things about living in Raleigh is how family-friendly these suburbs are. A lot of these suburbs are master plan communities, so as far as having to travel far to go to a park, that is not how suburbs are built here. You can get to a park in as little as 5 minutes. In our particular community where we live, we just have to open our front door and walk 2 minutes down the road, and there is a huge master plan. There's a huge park planned within the suburb. So we never have to travel to go outside, play with kids, and have a really fun time. Another thing is because you have a lot of greenways, you have a lot of sidewalk, everyone in these suburbs and this master plan communities, especially during, late in the summer or in the fall, you see a lot of people running, jogging, walking, very safe, having a really good time. And everyone comes out with their kids, and our kids play with other kids, and just kids tend to have a lot of fun in these communities. And there's also a lot of family-friendly events that are hosted by the community, especially if you have an HOA. A lot of the times the HOA have these community events, which are fantastic for parents and fantastic for the kids. So I would say that number 6 is family-friendly suburbs. These suburbs are really built for families. All right, let's move on to number 7. So number 7 is less traffic than major metros areas. I personally, coming from California, or other people coming from DC and New York, you know what it's like to live a life where you're just stuck in traffic during peak hours or for most part of the day, because those metro areas have grown so much and job concentration is in one place that you're always stuck in traffic no matter what you try to do. So that can be very burdensome on families with their lifestyle, especially if you have kids and they do sports and you have to take them to and from school, to and back from sports or activities. That, half of our time is just spent driving and being stuck in traffic. Here in North Carolina, commute times are very short. While traffic is growing, it's still not at the levels of these other metro areas. Traffic is still very manageable. If you avoid the peak hours, which is early in the morning and later in the evening, you can get to places fairly quickly without having to worry about traffic. In Raleigh, it's more about being strategic with your time. If you leave 30 minutes early or 30 minutes after, you're not going to have an issue. And then during the weekend, traffic is pretty much non-existent unless there's an accident. So traffic is never a factor that plays into our lifestyle. But having said that, I will say that commute times, depending on where you work and where you live, could be 40 to an hour. So it's very important that before you relocate to Raleigh, you really not only understand the lifestyle that you have, but where you work and where you want to live and the commute time to and from work. Very important to know. All right, let's move on to number eight. So number eight is business friendly state. Because Raleigh is a business friendly state, it attracts a lot of employers. And by having a lot of employers, it provides job stability. So in the event that you were to lose a job after transfer and moving to Raleigh, there are a lot of job opportunities, a lot of employers, so you can easily find a replacement or you can easily find another job within your specific industry because Raleigh continues to grow and its job market is pretty strong. And then this also encourages long-term growth because there is a variety of employers. We don't just have a specific industry. We have multiple industries. This allows the state to grow long-term, and it will continue to appreciate. For those moving into Raleigh, just know that in 5 to 10 years, again, this is my prediction. I continue to see Raleigh appreciate in prices, and home prices will continue to rise as the city and state continue to grow. Okay, reason number 9 why people move to North Carolina is a strong health healthcare. It's a strong healthcare system. Here in Raleigh, you have the three major hospitals. So this is Duke Health, UNC Health, and Wakeman. So what this means that whenever it comes to hospital treatments, surgeries, Raleigh has you covered because we have three of the strongest healthcare systems within the city. This also means that if you are in the medical field, nurse, doctors, dermatologists, everyone that encompasses the medical field, you have strong employers in the city, which means you have a lot of job opportunities and a lot of growth. These are major hospitals here in the city that are all within 20 to 30 minutes from each other. So it provides a lot of job opportunities for people in the medical field, and it also provides the healthcare treatment depending on your situation that you may or may not need. And then the last reason why people move to North Carolina is quality of life. Now, this is not to say that life in New York or DC or California isn't great. Life in those states might be great for many people. But what I mean with this is because there's more space, you do tend to get a bigger home with some backyards. You don't see those huge backyards that you used to see in 2015, but you have backyards compared to areas in New York or in California. You also, because you have more disposable income, I do believe families here live with a little bit less stress. I'm not going to say that stress isn't there, but a little bit less stress. And this also provides for a better work-life balance because you're not stuck in traffic all the time or you're not stuck commuting to and from work. And quality of life is one of those things that I believe many families, specifically families, are prioritizing in this economy. So there you have it. If you are planning to move to Raleigh or anywhere in the Raleigh area, I would love to help you make it a smooth and stress-free transaction. So make sure you subscribe